Assalamu alaikum. I hope you're doing well. Just a little bit of background before we start this video. There has been some debate between the Islamic philosophers, the Falsafa, and the new Atharis, the Muhammad Hijab followers, and this other gang. They have been arguing that for a thing to be part, it must be separable from the whole. This argument is taken from Ibn Taymiyyah, and Muhammad Hijab has popularized it. Obviously, the Islamic philosophers do not agree with this, and Muhammad Hijab and the rest of the people know it. But in an attempt to use the contingency argument, they have to make these illogical changes into the contingency argument itself. So in this video, we are going to show you what Muhammad Hijab says about it, what Muhammad Hijab says about the existence of the Parthood in God, and what Ibn Taymiyyah says about it. And then we are going to show you a debate between Ustadh Hasnain Naqvi and a follower of Muhammad Hijab who is presenting Muhammad Hijab's argument in front of Ustadh. And inshallah, you will see that how his arguments would be absolutely logically broken down and proven to be wrong, inshallah. So let's watch what Muhammad Hijab says.
It's a very good question. Right. So we need to define what a part is. Okay. Now in the study of mereology, there are about 10 or 11 definitions of part. About 10 or 11 definitions of part. The way in which I will end up making this argument is that a part is basically what is defined in the vernacular as a piece of something. A piece is something which is susceptible to assembly or disassembly, like something which can be attached to something or detached from something, broken up. This is what I mean by piece. And it's important to define a piece or a part in that way, but there are other ways of defining a part. So for example, if I say, I'm part of this class, or it's different from me saying that a part of my dissertation was X, Y, and Z, or a part of my work. In the vernacular, it can be used in different ways, so you have to be careful what we mean by it. What we mean by it, which is not what Ibn Sina means by it, by the way, I will explain why. Ibn Sina's definition is actually problematic of what a part is. Al-Ghazali mentions that. I'm going to just preempt this because I don't want people using a wrong argument. Is that his definition of part may include the attributes of God. That's why you have to be careful. So Ibn Taymiyyah said you have to define it like this. If you want to make this, you go define it like this.
You were saying something about divine simplicity and God being dependent and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, can you make your argument again?
Yeah, I mean, like if God were to be something composite, so a composite by its very definition is something, the reality of which is constituted by parts, right? Okay, and it is therefore dependent upon the parts that constitute its reality because the parts are distinct from the whole, right? And therefore every composite is dependent upon the parts. And dependence is contrary to essential necessity. It implies essential contingency. That which is essentially contingent in itself with respect to existence cannot simultaneously be necessary in itself with respect to existence.
What is a part to you?
A part, that which is distinct from the whole, that which constitutes, okay, that without which the reality of the whole would be incomplete, okay, but in itself it is not the whole, okay, and it's therefore dependent upon something other than itself for constituting the whole.
I don't think that's a part. I think
That's
that's
your
something different.
opinion. That's your opinion. I disagree.
Right, okay, so can you show me why something being not numerically identical to the whole is sufficient for parthood?
No, I don't understand the question. What is the question?
You're saying that something which is not
Yeah, what am I
numerically
saying?
identical. You're saying that something which is not numerically identical to the whole is just part.
Hmm.
So it seems like you're saying something which is not numerically identical to the whole are the necessary and
Something that is not
sufficient
the whole,
conditions.
something which in itself is not the whole, is distinct and separate from the whole, and is therefore dependent upon other constituents for constituting the whole, is a part.
Well, now you changed the definition though because now you added the
No, I
clause of
didn't.
being.
No,
No,
he
I
didn't.
didn't. That is once again your opinion. I
Just 1
didn't.
second. I can't even get a word in. You said something which is you added the clause of being separate and distinct, right? So
I
is that part
didn't.
of the
I
definition or
didn't.
not?
I didn't. If you go back and listen to what I said, this I had already included, these specifications. Okay, so I think
Wait,
you were
so
not
you
listening.
believe? Wait, so wait. Initially you were saying that, or it seems like what you were saying that was uh, a part is anything which is not numerically identical to the whole, right? Or and the way you phrased it was anything that's less than the whole, right?
I
But
didn't even
then
use the word wahid bil adad. Nobody said about being wahid bil adad.
just one second.
Okay, I think could have two parts. Okay, being in a single existence, being a wahda, they could be two parts. Okay, so what are you talking about? Okay,
Oh, just one second. You didn't even
hylomorphism is all
finish.
about that. Okay, in hylomorphism, you have a single existence, a single unity, but you have two real parts. Okay, the hylo and the morphia. Okay, the matter and the form. So nobody spoke about wahid bil adad. Okay,
Okay, so I was just gonna say that initially you were talking about things being less than the whole or something which is not numerically identical to the whole, right? But then,
no, no, I
just
didn't.
one second.
Once again, I never said, I never used the term numerical identity or not. Okay, so why? And I have just
I
given you an
think
example.
Hassan bhai, by I think by numerical
Sensible exist.
by
Wait, Elias, wait. Just let me complete this point. Sensible existence are composites of matter and form under our model. Okay, yet they exist. Okay, as a unity with a single existence.
I think by
Okay, good. That's
numerical
fine.
There
But
are no two
I'm just
by
existences.
numerical identity, I think he means the Leibnizian identity. That is like they should be
Yeah, but that
absolutely
is exactly,
identical with one another.
but that is exactly my point. That is what I'm trying to explain to him, that it is not a necessary condition for being a part.
okay. Look, so do you think um, do you want to hold to the clause of it being distinct and separate, or do you want to remove that from the definition, or um,
Oh no, I'm going to hold to it. I mean, matter and form are distinct from one another despite existing with a single existence and being a unity.
okay, sure, but are they separate?
Oh yes, they are separate in the sense that matter is the aspect of potentiality and form is the aspect of actuality.
Okay, so something that are separate is just two different ideas. It's not necessarily things that can exist while the other one existing, and vice versa.
No, they both exist in reality. They are concrete parts, okay, that exist, that are united in existence, okay.
Wait,
So I
can
think you need to go back and hit the primary text. Okay, matter and form under the hylomorphic model. Okay, there are two real parts, right, of a murakkab, of a composite. Okay, that exists in reality with a single existence. So
okay, fine.
it's
I'm not
one
interested in that.
wahda. Okay, one wujud, one wahda. Okay, but two adza. Okay,
Yeah,
two
I don't
adza
know what that means.
haqiqiyya.
I don't know what that means. You need to speak English.
No, then I'm not over here to teach you, philosophy 101.
Dude, I'm not speaking the language that you're speaking. Was it Arabic? What were you trying to say?
I've been speaking
As that?
English. I mean, what's wrong with you? I
No, but you were. No, you haven't. You've been using like a different language.
I just used a couple of Arabic terms, but I've already used,
Yeah.
the translations of those terms.
Well, I didn't understand it because you were just like using them without really explaining it. At
I,
least what it seems to me.
I had already explained
He
it.
just
So
But I just want to I
yeah.
just want to understand your position. Like all of this is not going to make
I
me
already
understand your
did.
position.
I
So,
already did.
uh,
Okay. A part is
you
something
say
that constitutes a reality of the whole, okay, and is therefore dependent upon other constitutes or
this
other
what?
factors for constituting the reality of the whole. It is not the whole in itself. Okay. The
Okay.
whole is distinct from the part. The part is distinct from the whole. Okay. If the part were identical to the whole, so the whole would not be a composite, it would be simple.
What kind of
It would not
distinction
be
are
a
you talking
composite of
about?
parts. It would be something simple.
What kind of distinction are you talking about?
How is that difficult,
Yeah,
actually?
composition. What kind of? It depends upon what kind of composition are we talking about. Are we talking about murakkabe hakiki? Okay, a real composite. Are we talking about murakkabe etibari? Okay, an intellectual composite. Are we talking about a logical composite? Okay, so that's a composition of genus and essential differentia. Are we talking about a metaphysical composite? Okay, such as quiddity and existence. Okay, or are we talking about a physical composite? So you have numerically distinct parts. So it depends upon what kind of
Well,
composition are you referring to. There are multiple kinds of compositions.
and you're saying you're denying any form of composition, even like in thought?
Yes, yes. With respect to God, okay, we're denying the fact that He's a composite of numerically distinct parts, as is the case with physical things. We are also denying that He's a composite or hylomorphic composite of matter and form. We're also denying that He's a logical composite of genus and essential differentia. Okay, we're also denying that He is an intellectual composite of wujood and mahia, or quiddity and existence.
Okay, so what's the issue with saying that God has attributes, and these are real attributes, but they're inseparable from the essence? What's the
Yeah,
issue with
the
that?
issue is, it's a good question. It's a valid question. If you say that God has attributes, okay, so what do you mean by those attributes? Do you mean that these attributes are caused, or are they uncaused? Now, this is my question to you.
They're not caused as in like an agent gave them existence, right?
So they're not caused, right? So they're uncaused, right?
Yeah, if you meant uncreated, then they're uncreated. Yeah.
Yeah, so if they are uncreated, so from the perspective of the philosophers, now you don't necessarily have to agree with this, but from the perspective of the philosophers, that basically means that there is a plurality of necessary beings, and which is impossible. Okay, so you cannot have a plurality of necessary beings. There can only be one necessary being. Okay, and to say that something is uncreated or uncaused is to posit that it is essentially necessary with respect to existence and is therefore necessary in itself, i.e., you have a plurality of necessary beings.
Okay,
That
so
doesn't follow.
yeah, look,
It does.
so wait,
It does. It does.
so initially we were talking about you're trying to say that if God has attributes, God has
No, no, no,
parts.
no, no, no. Let's remain on the attributes. Since you were the one who raised the question of the attributes, so what's I mean, do you agree that this is so? And if not, so why not?
I don't know what you mean. Like we were talking about God having parts.
We were, I mean, wait. I mean, you were the one who raised the whole issue of the attributes being distinct concrete realities from the essence. Okay, and then I asked you that are these attributes created or are they uncreated? Okay, so you said they were uncaused and uncreated. I didn't say
Well,
that. You said that, and I'm explaining that under from just let me complete. Okay, and now obviously I'm not misrepresenting you over here. Okay, so if they are uncreated and uncaused, so from the perspective of the philosophers, okay, that entails a plurality of necessary beings. Okay, and a plurality of necessary
we can
beings is
talk about that.
impossible.
I'm fine with talking about that, but I'm just interested because you're saying that God is composite if he has parts, and I'm telling you, if you think
No, no,
attributes which
no.
are
Yeah, we would talk about that. But then, why did you raise the whole issue of the attributes in the first place? That is what we are discussing,
well,
I think
and the
the
he's
reason
trying
why
to
resolution of this
say
problem.
he's
Just
trying
hear
to
me out.
say that
Just hear me out.
attributes are
The
not
resolution of
causal.
this problem would lead to this issue.
yeah, the reason why I was bringing up the attributes is because you were clearly talking about God, right? And God has attributes, right? And you want to
Yeah,
identify the
yeah,
attributes of
but
God as
that is,
parts of God.
yes. But this question has it is it is related to the entire issue. Okay, that we intend to explore in detail over here. Okay, that is divine simplicity. Okay, so the whole point of positing whether divine wisdom hikmah, okay, which Abdul Karim or Abdul Salam, whatever the name of the other brother was, I don't remember correctly what he was referring to, is based upon, okay, depends upon whether or not the divine essence is simple or composite. Okay, so if you believe that the divine essence could have real concrete attributes distinct and separate from his essence, okay, so that, and those attributes are uncreated or uncaused, so that is problematic,
Yeah, so the
because
only
that
reason
that
why I
that, that
brought up the
basically means that
attribute,
each one of those attributes is necessary in itself with respect to existence.
Yeah,
So
the
you
only
have a
reason why
plurality of necessary beings.
yeah, the only reason why I brought up the attributes is because you wanted to identify God's attributes as parts, and I was trying
Yeah,
to
but now
deny
you have
your.
done that.
Just
So
one
yeah,
second.
we're going to discuss this in detail, right?
Just one
Yeah, yeah.
second.
Now that you have
Just one
done that,
second.
so we're going to discuss this in
Just
detail.
one second.
Okay, so
You,
we need to resolve this issue first.
dude, you need to give me a chance to speak. You're hogging the microphone, literally. So, what I'm trying to say is that you're trying to identify God's attributes as, God, as parts of God, right? But I don't think, uh, at least, I don't think those
No,
are
I'm
parts
not.
of God.
No, sorry. You once again you were misrepresenting me. You're saying that I'm trying to identify the attributes of God as parts of God, but I'm not doing that.
Well,
I
that's
mean,
literally
why
what
are
you
you
were
saying
saying
that?
in the other room. You were saying if God has attributes, God has parts, and if God has parts, then
If he has
No,
God
attributes,
has.
no.
if he has attributes distinct and separate from his essence, that is what you're saying. I'm not saying that.
Just one second. You were literally saying that.
Oh, take 5 seconds.
Just one second, man. You were literally saying that if God has parts, or God has attributes, then God has parts, and if God has parts, then there's some kind of dependency in God, which
Nope.
is erroneous, right? So I'm trying to like talk to you about that because I don't
That's
think
not what he was
Yeah.
saying, man. That's not what he was saying.
that that's what he was
Nope.
saying in the other room.
He was saying
So
if
I'm
if
talking
the
to you now.
I
attributes
think he
are
means
distinct.
attributes under like
1 minute. 1 minute. He was what he was saying was that if the attributes are distinct from one another and they
Yes,
are
yes.
distinct from the essence, then it
Right.
entails.
Look, the
Then
only
it is
type of
problematic.
distinction,
That is
the
why
only type of
I asked
distinction.
you. That is why I asked you whether the attributes are caused or uncaused, and you said they are uncreated and uncaused. So if they are uncreated and uncaused, so we have a problem. I mean, it means you don't believe in one God. You believe in a pantheon of deities, basically.
Okay, so look, like I don't see. I see that if things are separate, that's a necessary condition for parted. And I,
That you have to prove that you have to.
well, I
I
think
mean, are you trying to
the
say?
proof for that
Yeah, yeah.
is
Just. I mean, just so I understand you correctly, are you trying to say that it is necessary for the divine attributes to be distinct and separate from one another as well as from the essence? I think if I understand you correctly, that is what you're trying to say, right?
well, I'm just talking about Parthood generally. I think
Yeah,
when we talk
yeah,
about parts
yeah.
in
So,
the world,
yeah, I'm talking about the attributes. So, are you trying to say that it is necessary for the divine attributes to be distinct and separate from one another, okay, and from the divine essence? Is that what you're trying to say?
yeah, well, but I'm trying to impose a
Yeah,
particular
no, no, no.
definition
It's
of
either
what
a
I mean.
yes, bro. It's either a yes or a no. Come on, make up your mind. Okay,
Yeah, but
what are you trying to say?
well, like
Yes.
uh,
So it's a yes. Okay. If
I
it's a yes, right? Okay. So then you have to answer the questions, right? I mean, like if you say that yes, okay, the attributes have to be distinct and separate from one another as well as from the divine essence. So then the attributes are either created or uncreated. If you say they are uncreated, which you have, okay, so that leads to a plurality of necessary beings. Because to be
all right,
uncaused and uncreated is the very definition of the term necessary being.
look, can you do me a favor and just mute yourself for a second because I can't get a word in. In the process of me answering your question, you were interrupting me and dictating my answer. Good. So all I'm saying is that the idea of parthood for me, or like what it means to be a part, um, it seems to me, right, that a part, one of the necessary conditions for a part to be a part, is that it can be separated, meaning can have distinct existence from something else. So, for example, if you have two objects, A and B, um, if A can exist without B, uh, and B can exist without A, then then they are parts. And I think that's true because we see that to be true in our general like universe. That's how we talk about parts generally. So it doesn't make sense to me to talk about parts just because they're less than the whole. The reason why
Okay,
we
okay.
call
Yeah. I get that. Okay, but we don't buy that. You see. Okay, and the reason for that being that if you have parts that constitute a whole, okay, that are inseparable and undetachable from that composite whole, okay, so makes no difference. Okay, as long as they are the parts of that whole, okay, that constitute the reality of the whole. I mean, I would say, okay, that if you take away all the parts, okay, imagine that if you were to take away all the parts, would the composite, would the whole continue to exist? No, no, it would not. Okay, and this is sufficient from our perspective to establish the dependence of that composite whole upon the parts that constitute its reality. Okay, being detachable, separable, or inseparable, that is not the point. The point is that the composite, okay, that which constitutes its reality, is something other than itself, i.e., its parts, its components. Okay, imagine a ladder that is inclined against a wall, okay, from all eternity. Okay, I know it's not possible, but just imagine, just consider this hypothetical example where you have a ladder that is inclined against a wall since eternity. Okay, and this ladder, okay, is never seen separated or detached from the wall. Okay, but isn't it true, if one were to say that, if you take away the wall, the ladder is going to fall down to the ground? Obviously it is true, okay, that the ladder would not be able to stand on its own. It is going to fall down on the ground. Okay, even though
Wait,
it has
hold on.
never been separate, it has never been detached from the wall. Okay, but the very essence of the ladder is such that it tells us, okay, by its very essence, one can discern that it is not something that can stand on its own. It is dependent, for remaining above the ground, it is dependent upon something else, i.e., the wall, against which it has been inclining since eternity, without ever being detached or separated from the wall. So it makes no difference. The very essence of a composite, okay,
I think
implies dependence. Okay, the parts being detachable or undetachable is not the point.
look. Why do you think your explanation of what a part is better corresponds to
I
reality
just,
than
I
my
just, I
definition?
just gave you the reason. You may not be able to comprehend it right now, but that's okay. Okay, I don't expect you to, but I've just already given you the reason. The very essence
Why
of
do
what
you
a
think?
composite is. Okay, the very notion, the very idea implies dependence. Okay, as the very essence of a ladder being inclined against a wall implies the dependence of the ladder upon the wall. Okay, against which it rests. Okay, even though nobody has ever seen it
Well,
separated from the wall. Okay,
can you give
that
me a
is
good
besides the
reason?
point.
Can you give me a
The
good
very
reason as
essence implies dependence. I've already given you the reason. The very essence implies dependence. Makes no difference to me. You can go on repeating the same question 1,000 times.
well
The answer is still the same.
the
The very
essence?
essence implies dependence. Once you said, I mean, you're saying, I'm not saying that. You're saying that God is a composite of attributes or parts or whatever. So once you have stated that he's a composite, so the very essence of being a composite implies dependence upon something other than its own essence. It
I
makes no difference whatsoever whether the parts are detachable or undetachable or separable or inseparable.
Why does it not make a
No difference
difference?
whatsoever at all.
Why? That's all I'm asking. Give me a good reason as to why it doesn't make a difference.
I've already given one. The very essence of what a composite is. You're saying that it is a composite. So the very essence, by its very definition, a composite is something that depends for its existence upon something other than itself, for constituting its reality. For instance, a ladder, by its very essence, is something, okay, which depends upon another for remaining above ground. In the example that I've just given. Okay, there is no why
Well,
over
it
here.
seems
That is the
like
very essence of the thing. You don't ask why is water wet. Okay, I mean the water is wet because it's very nature to be wet. Okay, you don't ask why is the fire warm or hot, or why does it produces heat. That is the very essence and nature of it. You don't ask why is whiteness white. That is the very essence and nature of whiteness. You don't
well,
ask why is blackness black. That is the very nature and essence of things.
well,
Okay, so there
uh,
is no cause for the essence, for
that's
the zatiyat.
dude.
There is no cause
You're
for the
hogging the
zatiyat.
microphone. I don't know if somebody has told you this, but you'll really like to talk, but you need to stop. I can't get a word in. So all I asked you is why your definition or your explanation of what are the necessary and sufficient conditions for parthood is a better explanation than mine, and it seems that your answer is just that it is by definition. Like, how is that? How is that an
No, no,
explanation?
no, no.
How is that a
It's
reason?
because through the contingency argument, we have already proven at first that there is an existent about which the proposition that it exists is is not a composite proposition, it is an atomic proposition insofar that it is not a function of another existential proposition, right? So when we are saying that God is absolutely simple, what we are actually saying is that the proposition that God exists is not a is not a function of another proposition such that there is an existence y and z such that they exist, and from that it follows that God exists, right?
That's
This is
not what
what
I'm talking about.
Hasnan no, this is exactly what we are talking about. This is what
No,
Hasnan
I'm
Bhai is
talking
trying to
about the
say.
definition
One
of
minute,
parthood.
one minute.
Yes,
Listen to
this is
me.
what
I
we're
have given
talking
you an
about.
absolute account. What Hasnan Bhai is trying to say is that if you are to say that the attributes of God are distinct and separate from each other, then what you are saying is that the proposition that God exists is a composite proposition, such that it is a function of other existential propositions, such that the attributes of the God exist, such that wisdom exists and power exists, and it entails that God exists. But we have already proven
Listen,
by
man.
our arguments, one minute, we have proven already by our arguments that there is an existent about which the proposition that it exists is a simple proposition. That is why our account of parthood, or whatever you want to call it, is a more complete account, because we have already proven that there is an existent in reality that is absolutely simple, and the proposition that it exists is not dependent upon any other proposition.
Look, I'm not even talking about the necessary being of God right now. I'm just talking about the definition of parthood. I'm telling
Bro,
you,
if you
I have a
don't
certain
want to call it
Just 1 second.
parthood, you can call it
Let me just
potato, you
finish.
can call it tomato, you can call it
Let
whatever
me
you
just
want.
finish.
Yeah,
That's not
names
the
don't matter.
Let me just
Names
finish.
don't matter over here. It
Okay.
is the understanding, the notion
Great,
that
great, great.
matters.
Just let me finish. All I'm saying is that we're having a debate about what it means to be a part. I'm saying,
No,
uh,
no, that's not
I'm
what we are talking
just one
about. No,
second. Just
that's
one.
no, that's not the topic.
That is the
That
topic.
is not the
No, that
topic.
is done and
What
over
the
That is
with.
not.
topic
That
is?
was initially the topic. Now the topic is the attributes. Are the attributes created,
Well, no, I
uncreated? You
haven't.
said they are uncreated. So my question is that leads to a plurality of necessary beings. So what is your
Exactly.
response to that? That is what we are talking about. Okay, we have already moved on. We have moved very far ahead from that initial
I
standpoint.
barely got a word in. I barely got a word in. Listen,
I'm sorry, I disagree. I mean, you have been speaking, you have been talking, you have been arguing, you have been objecting. In fact, it was you who brought up the entire
uh,
issue of the attributes in the first
I
place.
look. I was objecting for like half a second, and then you gave me like a TED talk. I'm gonna give you the. I think a composite is something which is made up of parts. So is that
Which
enlightening?
is made up of
Yeah.
parts.
Yeah. So do you see how
Okay.
that definition didn't provide anything because the
Yeah,
word
It
part
did.
needed to be defined?
I'll give
No,
you.
no, no. It did.
So you have a certain definition of parthood. I have a certain definition of parthood. You have certain ideas of what are the necessary and sufficient conditions for parthood, and I also have that. All I'm asking you is to give me a good reason as to why I should adopt your ideas of parthood, instead of just asserting it is the case that it is like those are the conditions by definition or something like that. Go ahead.
Okay. What is a composite? Define a composite.
Okay. Now that I've provided you a definition of what I think a composite is, can you now give me a good reason as to why I should adopt your definition of parthood?
Yes,
And
absolutely, absolutely. I'll give you the reason.
okay, what is the good reason?
Yes, absolutely. You will now get the reason. I'll tell you the reason. Our definition of parthood, right? In our definition of parthood, what does not have a part, right, is simple in all respects, right? But in your definition of parthood, what does not have a part is it is still possible for it to have internal distinctions. That is why our definition of parthood is a better definition.
I don't see how that's a good explanation for why I should adopt your definition. That's just you stating, oh, I think definition and distinctions leads to simplicity or something like that. And if you adopt my position, it still leads to some distinctions, but uh, distinctions with parthood.
Yeah,
Why is that a
exactly.
good reason?
So your definition, what is a definition? A definition should have every member of that set, right?
No, but why
A
why is that a
definition.
why is that a good why is that what you just stated?
What?
Why is that a
Tell
reason
me
for
what
me?
tell me what makes a good metaphysical account. What is the definition?
I mean, I think it should correspond to reality. I think it should like
No,
when we look
that's
at
I
things
don't
when we
agree with that. I don't agree with that.
You don't think
I don't
Okay,
agree with
okay.
that.
our
Let
Yeah.
me let
definitions
me.
and ideas should correspond to reality?
No, a definition should be that applies to every member of that set. Your definition does not apply to every member of the set.
Well, okay.
Yeah. So your definition is a
So
failure because it does not apply to things that have that are still, that still have internal distinctions,
why is that a
right?
problem? Why is that a problem?
Yeah, because your definition is not all inclusive, and a
Why
definition
is
that
that
is
a
not
problem?
in. Yeah, because a definition that is not all inclusive is not a definition.
How does that follow?
So what you, yeah, so what you are what you are saying is not a
Why is it not a
definition.
definition
But
all of
that
a
is just
sudden?
like saying, if you ask me what is an orange, right, and I tell you, oh, an orange is a fruit, right? That's not a definition of what an orange is.
This is getting silly. Like, why does it why is it not a definition anymore? Just because of that?
Yeah, because it does not apply to the all the members of the set.
You're just reasserting it. I don't feel you're not really telling me why.
What? Tell me what a definition is. Your definition, what I'm
Right.
saying, your definition does not apply to all the members of the set, and that is what makes it a bad definition.
So
It
what?
is as
Why?
simple as that. So what? So it is a bad definition. It is not a definition at all. Your
Why is it not
account
a
is
definition?
incomplete. Your account is incomplete.
Why is it incomplete? What
Yeah,
is it?
it's like saying you ask me what a human is, right? And I tell you everyone with a black skin color is a human. That's an insufficient account of what a human is, because there are humans that do not have black skin or have any color of skin for that matter.
Right. So what are you doing there? You're looking at the world, right? And
No,
trying
what
to
I
adapt.
am saying is that your account of what a parthood is insufficient.
I don't think you gave me a good reason to adopt your definition.
Okay,
And
okay,
I think
okay.
definitions. I think. Let me just get my
Okay,
last word.
that is apart from the discussion, that right. Even whether you accept my definition of parthood or whether you don't accept my definition of parthood, right? We have a deductive proof that there is an existent in reality that is absolutely simple, right? That is simple according to our definition of parthood. So whether you accept our definition or reject our definition, no problem at all, because we have the proof for the existence of such a thing that is absolutely simple. So did you understand my point? That there is something in reality that holds to the definition of parthood that we are giving. So whether you accept our definition or not, right? What we can prove is that there is something in existence, right, that follows our definition. And that is simple according to our definition of what simplicity is.
What's the definition they've offered for parthood? And I'm just trying to understand how the concept of parthood applies to properties. And I don't even also understand why we should um, conceptualize God's essential properties as something that can be distinct. So, like, I'm not really clear on this point.
Who are you asking? Me or?
I'm asking anyone.
Well, okay. Look, their definition of parthood is going to be something like anything that is not numerically identical to the whole, right?
No, it
Uh,
doesn't, bro. It it doesn't matter whether you accept our definition of parthood. It's
Exactly.
yeah, like
Whether you accept it or deny it, yeah, it does not matter, because we have a
bro, because
deductive argument. Yeah, yeah. Go on,
yeah,
Astra.
I was just saying, like, look, we have a definition of parthood, right? And we say whatever falls under this definition is contingent. If your version of God falls under that definition, it is contingent. Like, it doesn't matter whether you accept it or not. Like, that's not the point.
why should? Of course, it matters. Like
Because we have
your whole
proven the
argument hinges
existence
on
of
this
a
premise.
necessary existence according to our definition of parthood, right? So even if you deny our definition of parthood, no problem at all. We have still proven a necessary existence of a necessary existence that is according to our definition of parthood. You do realize that? You do understand what I'm saying?